The first one, x squared plus bx plus c is a factor of x cubed minus p. Please change the x cubed minus p into x cubed plus 0x squared plus 0x minus p. You notice there's no x squareds or x's in that equation. So therefore we do the long division method as we've done in the past. X squared plus bx plus c. Look at the first one and it says x squared divided by x cubed, x times. Multiply x by x squared, we get x cubed. X times bx is plus bx squared. X times c is plus cx. Then change the sign, minus, minus, minus. And what we should get is minus bx squared minus cx minus p. We know it goes in evenly. The next one is going to be x squared into minus bx squared minus b times. See, minus bx squared divided by x squared, take out the x squared, you get minus b. Multiply it in, and we get minus bx squared minus b squared x, because b by b is b squared x, minus cb. Now, we just change the signs. Plus, plus, plus. And what we're going to get is the following. We're going to get b squared x minus cx equals 0. This means b squared minus c equals 0. That belongs to this part here. The next part, which is in the black, is going to be cb minus p equals 0. At this point, I will reread the question and I'll see what you want. Prove that c equals b squared. That's done right away. B squared, bring the c over to your side. I'm going to get b squared equals c, or c squared, c equals b squared. That's the first part done. Second part is bc equals p. Can do that as well. Bring over the p. cb is equal to p. Same thing as p equals bc. cb is the same thing as bc. Okay. Now that that part's done, I look up again, and I need to prove that. B cubed equals p. So b cubed equals p. So what we have is we have our two equations here, and what I need to do is get rid of the c on this one. So I can say p equals b times b squared, because c is b squared. Therefore p equals b cubed. That's that one done. Look up again. C cubed equals p squared. C cubed equals p squared. Okay. What I'm going to do here is c cubed equals. I'm trying to prove that c cubed equals p squared. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay. What I'm going to do first and foremost is I'm going to choose what we just had here a second ago. Okay. I'm going to choose. Yeah, I'm going to choose this equation here. I'm going to choose P equals BC. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to square both sides. I want to square both sides to get P squared. So you're going to get P squared equals, square both sides. And we're going to get is P squared equals B squared C squared. I do not want B squareds in my answer. Okay, so I have to figure out a way to get rid of the b squared. Okay. B squared equals c. That's perfect. So I'm going to get p squared equals c times c squared. P squared equals c cubed. How many people got that? Next one. What it says is the two roots of the equation are p and minus p. This means x equals p, x equals minus p. What we learned in the last exercise is the factor theorem. When something's a root, this means that x minus p is a factor, and it also means x plus p is a factor. What we also did in the last exercise is when we multiply the two of these by each other, they should still divide in equally into the polynomial, okay? So I'm going to multiply the two of these by each other. We're going to get a quadratic equation. The quadratic equation should still divide into ax cubed plus bx squared plus cx plus d. Right, should still do that. Okay, so we're going to multiply them by each other. X minus p by x plus p, and what we'll get here is x squared plus px minus px plus minus p squared. Now what's going to happen is the middle two are going to cancel. Okay, and we're going to get x squared minus p squared. Okay, now we pretty much all know how to do that. Okay, now what I'm going to have to do next is I'm going to have to say, alright, I'm going to divide these into each other. So I'm going to write down my polynomial, which is ax cubed plus bx squared plus cx plus d. Now this one here, it's missing the x value, so I'm going to put in 0x there, because to do long division everything needs to be lined up properly. So we're at this stage here, okay? Alright, now guys, I was asked a question, why is it minus 0x? Actually doesn't matter, it can be plus 0x, 0 is neutral, has no value. Now what we're going to do next is we're going to do what we always do, divide in, and we're going to get ax. Going to multiply ax over here. We're going to get ax cubed. Ax by 0, still 0. Ax by minus p is going to be minus a p squared x. We're now going to go in, change the signs, and start taking away. That turns to minus. 0 is still 0, and that's going to turn into plus a p squared x. What's going to happen now is we're going to take them away. We're going to get bx squared. We're going to get we'd actually get cx plus a p squared x, but we're going to factorize out the x's so it makes it easier. So we're going to get c plus a p squared x. Going to bring down the d. Okay. Now we're going to bring down the d. Now guys, what we're going to get next is we have to divide in x squared into bx squared, and what we get is we're going to get plus b, and then we multiply it out again. We're going to get bx squared plus 0x, nothing useful there, 0x, minus bp squared. Once again, we haven't done any of the minuses yet, so come across, different colour, minus, minus, plus. Now, what you got to realise here is it's a factor. This means everything on the bottom is 0. Okay, this is the part that some of you were struggling with. The x values, this is the only x value here. This means that c plus a, so it's basically 0x squared, 0x, and 0 as a number. I'm going to concentrate on the 0x part. This means that c plus ap squared x is equal to 0x. There's nothing left because there's no remainders when you divide in a factor. Okay? This means that c plus ap squared equals 0. And that's basically where I would have got the squiggly line from the last part. I'm just zoning in on this part here. Okay? That's what I was doing. I'll get rid of that now because it might be a bit more confusing. The next one I'm going to do is I'm going to zone in on this part here. The regular values. The ones that haven't got x squareds and haven't got x's in them. And what I'm going to get here is I'm going to get d plus bp squared equals 0. So I'm going to get d plus bp squared equals 0. Now and only now can I go back up the top and work on what I was asked to do, okay? So what I'm going to do is, these are my two equations. from x and y respectively. I'm going to bring these up. I'm going to start working on them. Now, what I'm asked to do is show that BC equals AD. BC equals AD. There's one letter, and this is how I know how to do this. There's one letter that's not included in that. Which one is it? P. My job is on both equations is to get P on its own, or P squared on its own. So I'm going to use, for the red equation, I'm going to bring over to C, and what I'm going to get is AP squared equals minus C. Therefore, P squared is equal to minus C over A. I'm going to stop there. Now the reason why I'm not going to get P on its own is I realise that the other one has a P squared as well. So if I get both of them, P squared on its own, both equations, it should work out nicely. So I'm going to get BP squared equals minus D. Okay, and then what I'm going to get next is bring down the B. I'm going to get P squared equals minus D over B. Now we can see that both of these are equal to each other. Okay, because they're both P squareds. So we can now put these two formulas equal to each other. Minus C over A equals minus D over B. So minus C over A equals minus D over B. Cross multiply, get rid of the minuses for a start. Just minus on each side. The same thing as minus 2/3 equals minus 4/6. Take away the minuses and you'll get that plus 2/3 equals plus 4/6. It's the same logic. Okay, multiply both sides by minus 1, gets rid of the minuses. Okay, multiply both sides by minus 1, you get C over A equals D over B. Cross multiply, BC equals AD. Exactly what I was asked to do. Okay, next one. X squared minus T is a factor of x cubed minus px squared minus qx plus r. Show that pq equals r. Express the roots of x cubed minus px squared minus qx plus r in terms of p and q. Concentrate on question 1 first. Alright, and then we'll sort out question part 2 second. What we need to know here is we're going to divide this in, but because it's missing the middle x value, 0x minus t, we're going to divide them in. And what's going to happen next is we're going to get we're going to get ax squared or x cubed plus bx squared plus cx plus d. Now, as it says, it's a factor. Factor means it'll divide in equally.
So that's the formula for equation.
Oh, sorry, it is a formula for equation 5, excuse me. Sorry. Okay. Now, going to do next is, right, make sure you take down the right question. Always a good idea. And reread the question before you begin. X squared minus t, correct, x cubed minus px squared minus qx plus r. Grand. Let's divide it in. X times, we're going to get x cubed plus 0 because it's 0x minus tx. Come in, change the signs. We're going to get minus plus. We're going to get minus px squared. We're going to get tx minus qx, which is the same thing as t minus qx. Bring down the r. Next part, look at the first letter in each one. X squared goes into px squared minus p times. You bring it down, and what you get is minus px squared minus plus 0 minus pt minus p by minus t plus pt. Now go in, change the sign on everything. We're going to get plus. This one here is going to be a minus. This one here is going to be a minus. And once again, 0x squared, 0 x's, and 0 numbers because it's a factor. There is no remainders. Because there's no remainders, what we're going to do is we're going to do our following the equations. Okay, the equations we have is this. We're going to have t minus q equals 0.
Minus qx.
It is in fact t minus qx, but it's going to be equal to 0x. The x's will cancel and we'll still end up with t minus q equals 0. Okay, move over to Q, T equals Q. That's our first equation. This equation comes from the x values. From the regular values, we have R minus PT. Yes, R. Sorry guys, I think it's R. Yeah, it's R minus PT. R minus PT equals 0. I'm going to go back to the top, see what I'm proving. I want to show that PQ equals R. PQ equals R is the goal. Now, PQ equals R. Which letter is completely missing from that answer?
T.
T. Get T on its own twice. Move over to PT. We get R equals PT. Whichever letter isn't in the formula at the end, you isolate it onto itself, on its own. T equals 1 second. R over P. Q, T, T equals T. Q therefore equals R over P. PQ equals R. Just talk about this one for a second, okay? Now what happens is, it says this is your cubic equation. Now what usually happens to a cubic equation is, what we learned from the last chapter is, it usually breaks up into 3 brackets. Okay, so it could end up something like this, okay? Now the other way it can be presented is, it has one bracket and the other bracket is multiplied out into its quadratic form. Okay? So what I can do right away is I can write down the 2 factors that I have at my disposal at this point in time. I divided x squared minus t into this. So x squared minus t is it multiplied by x minus p. The 2 of them multiplied by each other equal this. That's by its definition of long division. When you divide 4 into 12, you get 3. 12 equals 3 multiplied by 4. Okay? It has to, if it goes in evenly, that has to be true. Okay, next, what we're going to do is, we're going to write down how to get the roots. We now got x squared minus t multiplied by x minus p equals 0. What we can do now is find out the roots. Okay, the reason why it's equal to 0 is when it's a root, it always, when you multiply them together, it should always equal 0. Okay. Now, oh sorry, not necessarily they'll equal 0, but their roots, when you solve them equal to 0, you'll get what the roots are. So there's 2 ways of solving this. I have to solve each one individually. And to solve each one individually, what I'm going to say is, the first one is going to be x squared minus t equals 0. Move it over to the other sides. X squared equals t. Square root both sides. I'm going to get x equals root t or minus the square root of t. There are 2 roots of the equation. The next one is going to be x minus p equals 0. This means that x equals p. Express the roots in terms of p and q. This root is p. That is in terms of p and q. The problem is root t is not in terms of p and q. So what I do is I go down and I look at what we got last time. Oh, t is actually equal to q. So what I can say is x is equal to root q or minus root q. And that's my answer done. It's now in terms of p and q. Okay?